going on, Jerome? It's a beautiful Saturday. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. So, combine, roll on down the line. The cornerbacks, DBs, tight ends got after things on Friday, and there's some stuff and things and stuff. And so the combine isn't the be-all, end-all, right? But it does make you raise eyebrows, right? So if you have a player who maybe limited college production, absolutely tests out of the gym, physical freak, some coaches are always like, mama, I can change him, right? And you do want to bet on physical traits because I think there's a Parcells line. Because Parcells, Belichick, blah, 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 they all started these draft prerequisites where your 5 tech has to be this tall, this heavy, same thing, corners. And Parcells always said, if you make too many exceptions, you have a team full of exceptions, right? And I'm firmly in the camp that if the player can play, they can play. Right now, obviously things have to be checked off. Like you're not going to have a 5'7" quarterback, which that's why I never made it. I'm 5'9". But also, if there's a highly productive player who doesn't test the greatest, I mean, does that disqualify him, or is he just much better at the technical aspects of playing football as opposed to the underwear Olympics? So always take things with a grain of salt, but sometimes you just can't help yourself. And you do wonder about the limits of the human body, right? Because there wasn't a formal combine like 50 years ago, but think of what these times would have been. You know what I mean? And just think of how larger, faster, stronger all these players are nowadays versus, hell, even 20 years ago. I mean, watching a game from the 2000s or even the 90s, it's just like, this is a different level, you know? But a couple cornerbacks, a couple DBs really caught my eye. Max Hairston coming out of Kentucky. So he's a little bit light. He's definitely a little bit light, checking in at 179 pounds, 5'11". So there is a little worry there, because especially the way that Emmanuel Forbes worked out. Now, obviously, different players, different circumstances, but you do wonder where you have a corner who's smallish, lightish. How are they going to hold up at the point of attack? But a 6'9", 8 RAS. 4.28 40, and it was great. Long arms, great press man corner, 6 interceptions, 3 pick sixes over the last 20 games. And you do wonder, it's like, is he just going to play, walking around at $180 in the league? Is that sustainable? Who knows? But Hairston, I still think that he'll be like top end day 2 type guy. There's some conversation he'll go first, but we'll see. Also, Nick Emenwari. So Emenwari is one of my draft crushes and someone who I think would fit in perfectly with the Flores scheme. He's got versatility. He could play down the box. He could play split safety. He could play everything, right? And he's 6'3", 220, and he can obviously just move, getting after things. Perfect 10 RAS. And Kenley Platt, Math Bomb does RAS, does phenomenal work. Go support him. He put Emenwari's numbers, I believe, at like running back, fullback, and tight end. It was still a perfect 10 out of 10. So Emenwari can get after things. All-American, great downfield tackler, 86.8 PFF coverage grade when thrown, and also 4 interceptions. He's 6'3" Bob Sanders. There's a lot of comps between him and Cam Chancellor. I think that he's a little bit more agile than Chancellor, a little bit more explosive, even though Cam Chancellor was a dude, man, coming out of Virginia Tech. But Emenwari is going to be a monster wherever he goes. And maybe back end of the first, top end of the second sort of deal. I think that's where he could go. Also, so Darian Porter is a cornerback that we haven't talked about too much, but mainly because he's going to go in that dead zone between the two Vikings picks, 24 and 97. But if the Vikings do trade down or potentially trade up, I mean, he could be in the thick of things at the top of day 2. But he's 6'3", a $195, long-limbed, just absolute freak show athlete as well. 999 RAS, ran a 4.3 40 and all that stuff. Tariq Woolen comps come early and often. I do think that Porter's a little bit more refined. than Woolen was coming out of UTSA, but he is old. So he's 24 years young, spent his first 3 years at Ames as a receiver, and then before moving over to cornerback. Posted a 90.1 PFF coverage grade this year, 3 interceptions, 2 passes broken up, partridge in a pear tree. Also, there's a little bit of concern, 1 year wonder of elite production. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, Porter's solid. Porter is really damn solid as well. Someone who didn't test very well, and like I said, take everything with a grain of salt. So Harold Fannin Jr., he wasn't going to test elite. Like, he's not this, joker 4-5 tight end. He's just not that. But he did not test well at all, right? So obviously, small, light. He's not going to be an inline tight end. He's going to be a joker moving all over the place. But a 4.7 340 broad jump wasn't much to write home about either. And, as a sort of a fringe, sort of positionless player, sort of a tweener, I mean, you do have to test better than this. But, I mean, his tape is just different, And does he look like the fastest guy in the world? No. He actually runs like Mo Schrute, just a little bit stiff. But does he break away from dudes? Yes. Does he break tackles? Yes. Set the NCAA record, 117 catches, 1,555 yards receiving, and 10 touchdowns this year for Bowling Green, which is good. Which is good. Elite hands as well. But I don't know. What's interesting, though, so ran a 4.7 340, which is not good for a tight end his size. But then you look at the miles per hour, the advanced stats, and he's only half a mile an hour slower than the top speedy tight end, Terrace Ferguson from Oregon, who ran a 4.6 340. So it's one of those spots where, I don't know, like football speed, track speed, dono speed. I mean, Fan did fine in the tight end drills, but he's a player that I'm kind of crushing on right now. I don't know why, because there isn't a established role for him in the Kevin O'Connell offense, but could he be just like this weird gadgety tight end, H-back, running back, just weapon? Yes, I think he certainly could be, man. Also, Darian Porter has 4 blocked punts. That's all. Anyways, also at the Combine, jumping John Randall, the pride of Texas A&I Kingsville, posted this on Twitter machine, dropping some old school logic on the next generation at the NFL Combine, hashtag Purple Friday, hashtag Skull. So I love that he's hanging out with the next generation of defensive linemen, and he needs to find the shortest defensive lineman. Like, he needs to find, Pegus is like 6'1", right? And Pegues is 6'1", and be like, 6 footers for life. Regulators, mount up. We are indeed coming. Non-Combine news, well, sort of Combine news, because agent and Les Snead were at the Combine, but Stafford apparently just used the Raiders as leverage. and he got what he wanted. So Stafford played the game, got some more guaranteed money, and, I mean, would he have gotten more if he went to the Raiders or the Giants? Sure. But also you factor in, after the move from Detroit, I'm sure they're settled in L.A., quality of life. The wife wants to be a podcast star too. So, I mean, it just makes sense, right? But what's interesting is that now this leaves the Raiders open. And the Raiders have the number 6 overall pick. Maybe they'll be out of the range of the top quarterbacks. And also, they have a ton of cap space, $90+ million. But reportedly, the Raiders could be lukewarm on Sam Darnold via Vic Tafur, beat writer for the Raiders. But also, I mean, could the tag still be in play for the Vikings and Sam Darnold? Or, like we talked about yesterday, could all of the teams that need a quarterback, the Steelers, the Titans, the Colts, etc., could they just all be out on Darnold and they just all go a different direction? I mean, it's possible, right? But Jason, over the cap, even if the Vikings did not want to tag Sam Darnold, I think it makes sense for them to do it, even if they just want to trade him. Patriots did that with Matt Castle years ago. Now, the team can rescind the tag even after the deadline at any point, as long as the player doesn't sign it. But I think the threat here would be that Darnold would sign it, because I think that his market value has been so warped because of the last 2 games. Again, all it takes is one team to break the bank, as evidenced by Kirk Cousins and the Falcons last year. No one is bidding against the Falcons, but I think the danger right now would be that Darnold signs the tag, and then the Vikings be on the hook for that $40 million and change, and it's fully guaranteed. They still could trade him, and then that would transfer the $40 million guaranteed. The Vikings wouldn't have any dead cap because there's no signing bonus attached to that. And remember, cap hits occur when the money is paid or the start of week one, which guarantees for the year. Right. But also if you factor in like what is going to go on with J.J. McCarthy and also what's going to go on in the draft, I mean, maybe they just hold out, but is that something that you want to risk? And if you're Darnold, like, are you going to get more than $40 million guaranteed on a deal at any point? Probably not. So you have all the incentive just to sign it, because then you either get that guaranteed $40 million here, somewhere else, you're guaranteeing yourself $40 million bucks either way, and that greatly decreases the Vikings' leverage in this spot. So I don't know what happens, but Lindsey Rhodes of NFL Network did have this impression. 9. I'm coming back around to the idea of Sam Darnold having leverage. Aside from the upside of Cam Ward, I think he's the best option available this offseason, and I think there are teams who might not want to roll the dice on a quarterback with an unknown floor in a not-so-great draft year for quarterbacks. Was the end of the season concerning? Yep. Was he legitimately good in a good environment for the majority of the year? Yep. And did I mention the Raiders have a ton of picks and money? Just saying. I'll be looking out for a possible tag and trade by the Vikings so they can get some value back. High 3, low 2. Certainly be okay with that. Right. And of course, like we said, this is purely BS season. One analyst says, hey, Raiders. Other analysts, Raiders beat writer, said, yeah. But what's the truth? Who knows? We'll find out. Tag deadline is Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, the only time zone that matters. So I think we're going to get some movement on that this weekend. Also, Vikes fan page. Both Brian Flores and Wes Phillips' contracts are up after the 2025 season, and the Vikings want to get new deals done for both coordinators this spring. Ben Gessling mentioned via Star Tribune YouTube channel. And Wes Phillips, I know that a lot of fans bag on him because he's just the offensive coordinator who doesn't call plays, but he is a huge resource for Kevin O'Connell. And after losing Udinsky, got to keep McCown, but he definitely wants to keep his consigliere with him. Now, Phillips, down the line may leave to get a play calling OC job or maybe even get some head coaching steam down the line. But I think for the moment in time, we'll want to keep Kevin O'Connell's number one lieutenant on offense. Also, Flores, I mean, just make him the highest paid coordinator in the league. Just go out and do that, right? There's no salary cap for coaches, so go out and get something done. And with Flores, even though he did get 3 head coaching interviews this cycle, I don't think that he was a serious candidate for the Jets, the Bears, and or the Jaguars. But it is good that he's at least getting interviews. He got zero goose egg DeAndre Russell after the 2023 season, but pay him handsomely. Seems happy here, loves working with this defense. Family's happy to be here, so make sure that he's taken care of. And hell, maybe this is a spot where Flores is Kevin O'Connell's D coordinator for 10 years, which sounds insane, but I mean, time moves fast in the National Football League, man. May as well take care of everyone. Also, this is good. So, Sleeper NFL. The Packers have a trade offer on the table for wide receiver DK Metcalf per Seattle beat writer Corbin Smith. The trade package would have to include the 23 overall pick and one of Dontavian Wicks or Romeo Doubs for Seattle to move DK. Why would the Packers want another wide receiver 3? Don't know. I don't know. Like, I feel like DK has all of the physical tools and attributes to be able, like, he should be Calvin Johnson. He should be Julio Jones, except he's not. Like, some games he's hot, some games he's cold. It really does vacillate, but I don't know. Like, I feel like DK is going to be out. I feel like Lockett's going to retire or be cut. So, I mean, Seattle's going to need some receiving help to supplement JSN. We'll see. Lastly, so this is good. Ryan Glasspiegel breaking. Bill Belichick and UNC will be featured on off-season Hard Knocks after NFL Films could not find an NFL team to do it after the Joe Shane debacle last year. Sources tell Front Office Sports. It's funny. It's real because the Giants looked so bad and incompetent dealing with Daniel Jones, letting Saquon walk, the whole draft evaluation. Like, they look like schmucks. And I understand why teams would not want to do that at all. But for Belichick, I mean, Belichick's going to have fun at UNC. Like, he's going to win games. He's going to be able to recruit because they've North Carolina flat out said, hey, we have NIL money. We have Jordan Brand, which don't sleep on like 17, 18-year-old kids committing just because of Jordans. It's a thing. Also, NIL money doesn't hurt. But Belichick has basically said, we're going to make a college to the NFL pipeline. So if you want to make the NFL, why not come and play for one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time? Just go do that, right? And it's going to be interesting because Mike Lombardi is their general manager, which, I don't know, in the age of NIL, you really do need a general manager. You probably need a capologist as well, but it's going to be fascinating. So I know that people hate Belichick. I've always respected him, listened to a ton of books about him, but this transition to college, like, I want to see what happens. I think that he'll be successful, and I think that it could lay the foundation for what the new college football landscape is going to be. Because at the end of the day, getting to the league is the number one recruiting tool. That's what helped Saban for years. And with Belichick, I mean, he's got that. And can he build that pipeline? Tar Heels could be here to stay for a while, man. We go from there. But that's it. Your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings news dump on this beautiful, wonderful Saturday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol. Production value.